gets interrupted, we probably from your brother. Okay.
Thank you, Terry. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grounded and Soaring, our podcast that explores how we might raise healthy kids in a too often unhealthy world. If you were expecting Terry DeBoe's voice today, I'm sorry. You've got me, Siri Panday, Director of Education for Toddler and Primary here at Marin Montessori School. Terry's off doing some other important business, and let me take over the microphone today. So I'm really excited to have a guest here today to address a crucial topic, early intervention through behavioral support for children under 5. Therapies like this can be really life-changing, but many parents struggle with the decision to pursue them, a bit worried about what they might mean or if they're overreacting. As parents, we all want the best for our children, but what happens when we start noticing that our child might be struggling in ways that others aren't? It's deeply unsettling. This is a feeling that can be filled with lots of fear and doubt, maybe even a little trip of denial. So the fear and the stigma and the labeling can make us hesitate to seek the help that could make all the difference. So today we hope to dive into this topic, give you guys a little bit of information so that if your child might need some behavioral support, you'll feel more comfortable accessing that. We're thrilled to have Rachel Manfredi, a board-certified behavioral analyst and behavior health director from Child Development Center of Marin, also known as Speech Marin, with us here today. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi.
She's going to help us unpack these fears and explain how early intervention in behavioral health specifically can empower your child and set your family up for a new and exciting chapter. Rachel Manfredi has an MA, a BCBA, and is board-certified behavioral analyst and behavioral health director. She specializes in parent consultation services, individual therapy, home carryover services, learning readiness support, and small group classes that focus on meaningful participation with peers. Her holistic approach supports not just neurodivergent children, but all children who might benefit from some behavioral support. So welcome, Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here, Rachel. So let's start by shedding some light on what behavioral therapy is. Can you explain it in simple terms and share how you consult and support families?
Yeah. So behavioral therapy is really the practice of applied behavior analysis, which is, ABA for short. The therapeutic approach that aims to improve lives of individuals by teaching meaningful skills to improve independence. It's based in the science of behavior analysis, which helps us understand how behaviors occur, how learning takes place. So essentially what we try to do is get behind the why behind a behavior, and what keeps it going. And then if it's something that we want to keep going, we try to keep reinforcing that. And behavior, I think when we think about behavior, a lot of times people seem to think of it as bad, their kids are throwing something on the playground that when they shouldn't, or they think of the negative behaviors, but behavior is really anything you can see.
Yeah.
So, and that could be greeting a child when they come to the door, anything meaningful or anything positive, like saying hello or being able to drink from a cup of water. So that is a behavior too. So behavior therapy works on teaching meaningful and useful new skills in order to improve an individual's life and potential.
I love that so much. One of the things I often say with my team is behavior is information. And I feel like just bringing in a little bit of a Montessori lens, and I think I'm assuming it's similar to what you might do. You start with observation.
Yeah.
And you're really looking for what is this behavior. And usually we're accessing support because there's an undesirable behavior that no one's comfortable with, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I was going to get to that too, which was funny because, there's the negative behaviors. So, the undesirable things, things that are more challenging. And that what we'll do is examine, what is causing that behavior? What's the why behind it? And that's sort of the analysis part of the behavior analysis. And so we'll see what's reinforcing it. What are the circumstances like in the environment that are encouraging it or keeping it going? And then what are the changes that we might be able to put together and the strategies that we can use to make it either the less desirable behavior less likely to occur, And a lot of times what goes along with that it would almost always goes along with that is teaching new skills. So there's a lot of teaching of new skills in order to replace the things that you want to see less of.
Right. So that basically a child has a toolbox of behaviors. They're reaching into an old toolbox of behaviors, and we're like, that behavior we're going to not pick up. We're going to pick up this behavior over here.
Exactly.
For some of an imagery. Thank you so much. What do you wish every parent of children under 5 knew about behavior support and therapy?
What I wish people knew was that it's not just for kids on the spectrum. I think, there's a common belief that it's only for kids with autism spectrum disorder. And what the really is that it can be just another way of looking at best practices, where you examine a behavior, you observe the circumstances under which things are happening, and you're getting back to the root cause of sort of what is happening and figuring out what skills can we build that can help this child overcome this challenging moment and really make the most of this setting or what's happening now at home.
That really resonates with me, so that we can all be going about our process of human development, doing the best that we can, gathering from our environment what we see, copying some skills, copying some behaviors, maybe inventing some where we don't have a social skill. And we might get to a point where what was okay when I was 1 is no longer desirable at 5. It's no longer tolerated socially, but I still haven't added a new skill.
Yeah.
I'm still picking up the behavior that worked for me at 1. I was very charming. I was very cute. It worked. Everyone around me was into it. Now I'm 5 and I'm no longer meeting a social milestone. And I'm wondering a bit about our kids who were developing during the pandemic and who may have had some habits that worked in a familial setting, right? And maybe a small group setting, but no longer can they externalize those into other social settings where they're not with family. Those behaviors aren't tolerated, for example, at a preschool.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Parents often worry about creating a nurturing and structured environment at home without being too rigid. How can they integrate sort of behavioral support concepts into their daily routines? I know that the morning routine and the evening routine are just paramount challenges at this age. So maybe you can share a story about how you've helped a family with either their morning routine or their evening routine. Any tips that you might be able to suggest about how to bring some of your knowledge home? Yeah,
those morning and evening routines are like one of the most common things that I work with families. In one family I worked with years ago, I think, and I know many parents probably can relate to this, is the bedtime routine that lasts, 2 hours.
One more book, one glass of water.
No, I want to change the toys and bring it with me into bed. No, I want to, come and going. I need some more water. All of those things. So I had a family that I was working with where this was hours every night and
exhausting. Everyone's tired.
Everyone's tired. Everybody's frustrated, and it was a point of a real pinch point for everybody in the household in the evening.
Sure.
So. What we did too is I observed, I hung out with an Amy cam and I went and I observed and saw sort of what was happening with the family and how the parents were reacting to the child, how the child, the different behaviors the child was exhibiting during that time. And we came up with a plan that incorporated, some set rules that were predictable and communicated to the child ahead of time.
Yeah.
As well as sort of, we looked at the function of that behavior. And, what we decided after this observation was that this little boy really wanted extra attention at the end of the day. And so by being able to have mom or dad stay in the room a little bit longer, they were going back and forth all night for hours. So in their initial putting him down, he was able to stay in the room longer. And, scratching backs, reading the extra book. And that little bit of extra time gave that child the attention, right, that was feeding this behavior to begin with. They ended up staying in the bed, and the bedtime routine was able to change.
Right. They're never done. They always want more. They always want more time with the family. And then that pulls on the heartstrings of the parent. So I love that, front loading the attention, creating the predictability of the routine and sticking to it. Maybe you're seated. I know I've advised some parents to be really boring and silent at that time. And then maybe you're seated with your back to the child, but you're in the doorway. And then slowly you're kind of eking out of the space so that they don't need that much support. But certainly the clarity of the message in advance, that really resonates with what we do in Montessori too. We tell them what we're going to do. We make sure it's a good plan, talk about it when they're well rested, and then continue to build a healthy habit by doing it.
Yeah, and I think the predictability of those things, and then the consistency of it. If you're really sticking to sort of the boundaries you've created, it's not a harsh thing. It's a good thing. It's good to know sort of where the edges are.
Right.
And so this night, for this child, and 3 cars come to bed with you every night. It's always 3, and you just pick from this pile, and so that predictability for everybody around how the routine was going to go created a more calm and still very tender,
the tuck-in routine is great. But knowing that it's not all options are on the table, and it's not a never-ending thing, because certainly parent attention is a huge reward, isn't it? So that's I think that would be one of the key rewards, adult attention, right? And children are very clever. They know how to get our attention.
Yes. I don't think we give them enough credit. Clever they can be.
They want positive attention, but sometimes they'll resort to negative attention, right? So we can reflect on that. Great. I love that so much. I think our time is kind of wrapping up. In conclusion, I mean, I feel like I could talk to you forever. I love this topic so much, and it really resonates with me and I know our families. But in conclusion, what would you say is the value of seeking out behavioral support services? If a family is referred to your center, what can they expect from the experience?
I've seen over the course of the years that I've worked with families, like the behavioral support services can really help both families at home and kids at school, and it's been really beneficial. And I think in terms of parents can learn a lot of new skills to add to their own toolbox.
I love that.
For like day-to-day principles on how they're communicating with their children, that front loading, which is so important, practicing new skills when it's not in the moment, so that you have a history of being successful at these newer challenging items. So if a family is referred to our clinic, what would happen is you probably meet with me and we would discuss sort of what's happening at home or at school, wherever the challenges may lie. And then, like you said, we'd want to be able to go in and see sort of, in person what's going on and get down to the root of it. And then we'd come up with a plan, with both the parents and myself of figuring out, okay, what skills do we want to build and what strategies can we put into place that could really help this family in the environment that they're in.
I love that so much. That's even a really good model for folks that maybe aren't at such a pinch point that they need services, but that's a really great model for parents to take to their home environment. If you are parenting with a partner or if you're parenting with a sitter, you can think about any pinch point, pain point. It might even just be a pinch point. It might not be the worst thing. You might not be in pain, but it might be like, oh, I don't love that. And you can take that whole lens of observation. What's the root cause? What routine? What predictability can we add to it? I feel like that would really work for all children under 5. And that's something that they could really play around with and then plan that so that when you're tired, you're not at your best or your child's not at their best, then you have something that you can really lean into. And children are working so hard on building their skills in these domains with or without the services, but I definitely can be sure that targeted support by trained professionals would increase the gains, increase the rapid gains for children. And I can only imagine that children under 5, these could be real game changers in how they just move and how they access their learning in any environment. So a consistent approach will certainly set them up for success for their future years. By removing frustration and building up skills, we can really close gaps and see really meaningful progress that supports children. Here at Marin Montessori School, I've witnessed the incredible transformations that can happen, when parents are partnering with their guides, or if they've also gone and gotten early support. At the same time, we understand the fears that a parent might experience and the uncertainties they might face if they hear from their trusted guide that they might need support. But I hope that listening to us chat a little bit about behavior support with Rachel has helped you to get a window into the possibilities if this could be something that would be helpful for your child. So in closing, I'd like to thank our guest, Rachel Manfredi from Child Development Center of Marin, for taking time out to join us. I also want to give a big thank you to our listeners. Also a thank you to Terry to let me take over the microphone. Please remember to visit groundedandsoaring.org for more podcast episodes, blog posts, and details to support parents. We love reviews, questions, and suggestions for future podcast topics. So please contact us on our page and let us know how we can support you. And please share with friends and families. So stay connected with us on social media as well, and look out for updates for upcoming episodes. Thanks again, Rachel. Appreciate you. All right. Bye.